The moment when Amelia falls off the cliff, and as she's free falling down into the lake, and she sees her reflection, I think everybody realized just how much Amelia has grown as a character. When we were first introduced to Emilia, we were met to a very lovable, shy girl that tried to help out Subaru in her own way, and Subaru fell in love with her. Love at first sight. And throughout our journey of, ReZero, Amelia has shown that she can be dependable in some areas, but overall, she has really required the help of everyone around her. And it doesn't help the fact that we followed Subaru's perspective of the story, so we have seen the worst that Amelia has had to offer in terms of being useful and useless. And because of these constant events we've seen throughout the series, Amelia has earned quite the reputation at this point. Many have gotten to see that Amelia isn't necessarily or wasn't a likable character up to this very point. She was very blank, so to say. Very similar to kind of what, Beatrice was saying about herself within this episode. And I think after everything, many are going to start to see what Amelia really has to offer and how this episode really kind of shows how much progress she has made, what's to come, but also to show once again that thanks to everybody around her giving her that push, she has really become her own person. But before we go any further, I do want to talk about the free fall scene of the cliff. I don't know how many noticed this, but that entire animated sequence was very reminiscent of the scene with Subaru free falling off the cliff back in Season 1. If you remember in that moment of Season 1, when Subaru finally got the courage to basically say, I'm done with this loop, and then he fell off the cliff, and then, we know what happened, he died. That was kind of a big turning point for Subaru to really showcase that he was willing to do the hard, options to be able to accomplish what he needs. And also, it kind of is what started a spiral of Subaru's downward preservation. Like, he didn't care about his self-preservation anymore. You saw how he started to hold on to Return by Death and use it to the point to where it's like he no longer cared about his life. And you could kind of say that's where everything began, where Subaru slowly became detached from his own humanity, and which led to the character development he got in Season 2. And it's kind of interesting that we have a scene that's almost identical to what Subaru went through, because Amelia free falls, but when she free falls, she comes to, just like Subaru did, a realization, and she changes as a person. But instead of going down a very negative route that Subaru did, she's going down a very positive route. There's an obvious correlation, like a parallel between the two scenes, and I really do appreciate this episode for that. It really goes to show you just what direction Amelia is going as a character. But to go a little bit deeper into it, I want to kind of talk about the mirror scene and also the reflection that Amelia saw in the lake when she saw herself and then commented that she doesn't look exactly like Fortuna. See, here's the thing. It's been very vague up to this very point. But basically, Amelia hasn't really looked at herself in the mirror in a very long time. She's kind of neglected to really see her own reflection, and the reason for it is because she was always told that she was a witch. She was like a filthy half-elf, someone that shouldn't be there, shouldn't exist, etc. She's always been told this for a very long time, and this kind of feeds into the fact why when Subaru's like, I love you, I care about you, why she always wondered why Subaru would care so much about her when she's just a half-elf, when she is someone that people hate, she's a filthy witch or whatever. She always wondered why Subaru cared so much about her, so she never really looked at mirrors. She never got to see her own self, and this also amplifies the matter when she always had Puck do her hair. For instance, if you remember her contract with Puck, Puck was the one that would always fix up Amelia's hair and braid her hair every single day. That was the terms of her contract, so she never got to see herself in the mirror. She never really looked in the mirror. She never got to really stare at herself and see how much she's changed as a person, how much she's matured, etc. And her kind of looking at her reflection is self-reflection of her own character, but also realization that she's willing to look at herself and move forward into the future, even if it might not be happy and full of roses. She's willing to go into that harsh future and go for what she wants. I appreciate that little scene. It's a very thought-provoking scene, and I love that moment of this episode. There's just so much to really get from that free fall scene with Amelia. But let's take a step further. A big detail that I think many are going to be shocked about is Amelia talking to Ekadana, the Witch of Greed, and it's like, thank you very much for allowing me to have this opportunity to see my parents, to see Juice, to see Fortuna, see them like this in a happy environment. Even though I know this reality does not exist, I'm just happy I was able to experience this. I'm happy that I was able to see them together, even if it is fake, together one last time. And Amelia was truly grateful for that. She felt joy within her heart, even though she realized she would never get this scene ever in the true reality, the true present. She was very happy just to be able to witness it. She was satisfied. And it's very similar to Subaru's overall, trial, how he overcame his past. When he confronted his mother and father and talked with them, he realized that even if it wasn't fully the truth of what happened in the past, like what he was talking to, for instance, his parents, wasn't really his parents, he was just happy he had that conversation because it allowed him to self-reflect on himself and become a better person. It's just a great scene overall, and I love how that shows that Amelia doesn't want to kind of shy away and run away from her responsibilities. That she could have easily, if this was the old Amelia like a few episodes back or even in the first half of season 2, she easily would have accepted that present and not wanted to return to, her real reality. She would want to sit there in that false reality and just be like, oh, everything is happy-go-lucky. And it shows, though, she's willing to accept the harshness of the world. She's not going to run away from it. She's not going to rely on someone and act like, she's going to be protected or safe. She realized how much she's been blessed to be protected at this very point, and she needs to make up for that fact. She wants people to admire her, and it's very commendable. And I love Amelia's character development with this scene alone. It's a good episode. Like, ReZero is always giving us back-to-back 10 out of 10 episodes. And once again, another 10 out of 10 episode. Just character development alone for Amelia is incredible. But obviously, there's just so much more to talk about. As I briefly mentioned, we have the Witch of Greed, someone that has been affiliated with the entirety of Season 2, and you could kind of say she's dabbled her hands into the events of Season 1. Thanks to the Tome of Wisdom that was given to Rosewall and also Beatrice, we know for a fact that, she's technically kind of the reason why Rosewall has this attachment to Ekidana, why he has this attachment to the book, why Beatrice has trapped herself in that room, the library, and not wanted to leave since the very beginning when she got there. She's technically the cause of a lot of issues, and she's been a character that we've seen presented in Season 2 that always talks with a very calculated and manipulative manner. She is someone that always puts on a mask. That is definitely something I think everybody at this very point watching the story has gotten to see for themselves. People can see that even though she puts on this happy-go-lucky type look when she was talking with Subaru, in reality, she's just doing that for her own grand plan. She wants to kind of have Subaru for herself. She wants to grab and obtain Subaru's return by death. That's what she wants. And so she will manipulate and do whatever she wants to be able to accomplish what she wants. And her overall mentality and the way she acts towards people, she lacks empathy. She lacks pretty much all emotion besides her overall curiosity for the unknown or knowledge. That's really the only thing she has. Everything else is basically empty to her. And any type of emotion she does show is just her faking just to be able to get what she wants. But when you see her talking with Amelia within this episode, it's fundamentally different than anything we've seen up to this very point within ReZero Season 2. Ekidana shows hatred, disgust, and fear. And I feel like it is very fascinating, honestly, because you could just see so many raw emotions pouring off of the facial expression of Ekidana. You could even see envy in her eyes, which makes so much sense, honestly, because once again, what she really wants, what we've seen she wants, is Subaru. Not because she loves Subaru, no. She wants Subaru because he has returned by death. She really, really wanted that ability, that power for herself, and obviously she was not able to obtain it because we saw Subaru's decision. And her standing before Amelia and seeing Amelia change like she is and overcoming these trials, Ekidana is being forced to realize that Amelia has changed. She is going to change, and that Subaru has managed to accomplish the impossible, something that Ekidana does not want to accept at all, but she's so disgusted by the fact that Amelia is able to come this far and, be so selfless to a certain degree. It's honestly fascinating, and it just shows a lot about, Ekidana's character, and that she isn't full-on emotionless, but at the same time, she only has one real emotion, and she only shows emotions to Amelia, which is interesting, honestly, and it makes you wonder if she doesn't like showing emotions to begin with. Like, what if Ekidana just hates emotion? Like, what if she really does not like feeling happy or whatever, she just likes to put on an act, because maybe it makes her think about maybe failures or regrets maybe she did in her lifetime. That is a question that many might consider. But the big thing I do want to talk about, though, is the fact that with that scene, there's another reason why she might be very upset as well, because Amelia kind of encompasses selflessness to a certain degree. Yes, she's been very selfish. We've seen a lot of selfish acts from Amelia because she's constantly hid behind everyone, Puck, Subaru, etc. But when you actually see what she says in this episode, and she kind of like disagrees with that current present, it's like, I don't want to live in this false reality. I want to accept reality as it is, and she's willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of everyone. You could see that Ekidana can't agree with it. She doesn't want to agree with that mentality because, once again, she is the very embodiment of greed. She is someone that really is greedy. And her form of greed is obviously for knowledge, but she still is the embodiment of greed. And for someone to be so selfless and not greedy, it makes a lot of sense why she would be disgusted as well. It all comes together when you think about it. So yeah, I just think the entire Amelia flashback is just great from start to finish. It really gives a lot of context to how Amelia is right now as a person and what's going to be her growth in the upcoming future. It's exciting, honestly, and this is easily why Amelia is one of my favorite characters of ReZero, because, like, to see how she was so blank and didn't really have much personality in the first season to where she's at now just shows how good of a writer the writer of ReZero is, just to be able to accomplish such a feat, because it's like, we've seen time and time again how good the character development could be in this series. I mean, Subaru, good example. People did not like Subaru when the series first started. I know for a fact, because just his overall antics were very like, oh my, it's cringe. But when you look at him now, he's not even the same person. He's just changed so much. I mean, look at Garfield. Let's look at, what Rim did for Subaru. Let's look at Amelia now. Let's look at, just every single character that really has had a major, focus on them. They've gotten so much character development. Even Roswell. Roswell's had so much development and characterization in these episodes and what he's actually fighting for. So, it just seeing Amelia, once again, proves the quality of ReZero once again. Just how good the writer is at writing good characters in a good story. So, anyways, let's talk about the other elements of this episode besides, that, little present, the unthinkable present. So, we get to see the villagers cheering on Amelia, and I think this is a really important scene for one major reason, because it kind of feeds into what Amelia actually is, and people typically don't think about it too much. Amelia is destined to be the ruler of the entirety of the kingdom. That's what she is fighting for, and I think many typically forget about that because once again, we follow Subaru's story. We follow Subaru trying to save everyone's lives from dying, and so we don't really think about the very far-off future often. We really don't. We just think about that current arc and, Subaru being able to get out of that loop, this hellhole that he's currently in. But we don't really think about what the true in-game goal is often. And Amelia's in-game and Subaru's in-game, Subaru wants to get Amelia on the throne, and he's a self-proclaimed knight. And Amelia, she wants to be the ruler of the kingdom and make the world a better place. And when you just look at everything and seeing the citizens standing there and cheering Amelia on, it shows that she is showing qualifications as a ruler. Because to be a ruler, a good ruler, you need to be able to inspire your people. You need to have your people believe in you. And if you are a ruler that doesn't have people that believe in you, what really are you? Are you really even a ruler at that point? So that entire village scene really just feeds into Amelia's charisma and what she is fighting for and how people will start to believe in her if she continues to do what she's doing. So yeah, that's a great scene, but that's enough said on that. So, I also want to talk about the brief little Ram mention that we got with, Amelia's like, where did Ram go? And you have Ruzu's like, Ram's not here because she says, you have a job to do just like I have a job to do. And in that moment, Amelia realized that she doesn't need someone to be right there beside her because in her heart and in her mind, they're right beside her along the way. They're having to do their own thing and they trust and believe in Amelia. It shows that Ram really does believe in Amelia at this point. She's like fully in belief with Amelia, and she trusts that Amelia will be able to accomplish what she actually wants. And Amelia realized that, which is why she quickly turned around and went to take the next trial without really much after that. It's because she realized how many people are truly counting on her and the weight and responsibility that she has on her shoulders. So, I guess let's get to the mansion. So, I guess let's talk about Garfield and Elsa, because I think this is going to be a scene everybody's going to want to talk about. It's honestly amazing to see Garfield finally on our side and fighting Elsa, and I think many are going to be blown away by the fact that Garfield grabbed Elsa by the face and just started dragging her up against the wall as he was running with her. It was honestly very reminiscent of Broly from Dragon Ball. If you've ever watched, the Broly movie or any type of Broly movie, you know how savage Broly fights, and just seeing Elsa's face getting grabbed and Garfield doing that, it's like, holy crap, this man has no chill. He does not care about Elsa being who she is. He just grabbed her and just drug her face across the wall. Elsa didn't look really that damaged, but it still proves a point, though. Garfield really does have a lot of strength, and I just love seeing a scene like that, which, by the way, you can see that Elsa wasn't fully focusing on Garfield's stomach. That's a key little point that I think not many are going to realize from this episode, is that when Garfield actually blocked with his teeth and grabbed the blade, and Elsa got very happy, she's like, ooh, impressive, I like this a lot, I like you a lot. And then after that scene, she basically introduced herself like, I'm Elsa, and Garfield, says, I'm Garfield. It's kind of like two warriors coming together to a mutual agreement to tell each other's names, because one of them are not going to make it out of this fight alive. And so that's why they told each other their names. And when you actually see that scene with her not really just focusing cleanly on his, stomach, it showed that she realizes this fight is really, really important, and it's going to take a lot of effort. She can't just do her normal tactics and go after what she wants. She needs to go for every possible weakness that Garfield has to be able to bring him down. It's something that was very subtle, but I appreciate the subtlety of it from the way this episode shows it. Which, by the way, I do also think the Subaru scene with Beatrice is incredible, too, for a variety of reasons, because it shows that Subaru isn't taking the easy way out. He could have easily have walked into the library where Beatrice was, and it's like, yeah, I'm the one. He could have easily have said that. Like, think about this. If Subaru would have walked in there and said, I am the one, let's be honest, Beatrice would have walked out with him. She would have got up out of her seat and walked with him outside of the library. But here's the reason why Subaru didn't, and I think people are not going to understand why he said the words he said. It's because if he would have said that, he would have, once again, have to break a promise. And he realizes at this very point how powerful vows and promises are, especially with Amelia. He fully understands those emotions now. Even though he doesn't like to keep promises, he's really bad at keeping promises. He doesn't want to make promises now that he knows he cannot keep. And that's basically what happened there, is that he didn't want to tell Beatrice he was the one, because he can't entirely focus everything on Beatrice. He has so many other people he has to focus on too, and it basically put him in a spot. But he's like, look, even though I'm not that one, you got to make this decision for yourself. You're going to have to be the one to get up. You are the one. You're the one that's got to get up and create your own future, not follow in this blank book. And I think that's a very impressive writing as well, because it shows that Subaru isn't taking the easy way out. He's willing to sit down and communicate with Beatrice, because that was a big thing that Subaru had to learn as well, because he was so focused on the end-game goal. He was so focused on reaching the conclusion that he wasn't focusing on the little things that actually matter with each individual person. Example, Amelia. Because he didn't focus on Amelia too much in the other loops, it resulted in her going crazy, as we saw. So he now realizes how important it is to really focus on the individual instead of just trying to rush to that conclusion and save their life. Because there's more to someone than just saving their life. There's just so much more to the world. Because you may be able to save their life, but do you save their mind? Do you save their personality? That's the thing. And so Subaru's trying to be greedy here. He's showing his greed. He's showing that he wants to save Beatrice without having to make a promise and saying what she wants. He wants everything. So it shows once again he's keeping to that mentality that he made against Echidna and, at the end of Season 1. Which goes even further as well. I do think, though, the big point of that conversation is that Beatrice needs to make the decision on her own. Because that is what Subaru's trying to say is like, that book is blank. it's blank, which you can interpret it as a way is that your future is open to any path of your choosing. You're not bound by anything. You can do what you want. And I feel like that's kind of what Subaru is trying to hint at, is that you don't need to sit here in isolation and be alone and depressed. You can do what you want with your life. And even though I might not be that one that you thought would be coming, you can decide if you want to follow me or not. And so Subaru put up a really good argument. It just now depends if Beatrice actually wants to see that side of things, or is she really just so focused on just wanting to be done that her only alternate is to just die. So yeah. Anything else to really talk about? I think I pretty much have covered everything that's actually in this episode. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. If I missed anything, forgive me. But it was a good episode. 10 out of 10. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for, whenever I upload a video, click that bell icon down below, because it does help me out a lot. It helps with the algorithm, because if you want to see my videos pop up on the feed of YouTube, or you want to be notified when I upload, it helps out when you leave a comment, like, etc. So, yeah. Anyways, be safe, guys. Chibi out.